ugly face with ugly clothes, just like a beggar. We didn't invite beggars like you. Get out. You can't be serious. I said get out.
I attended my sister's lavish wedding, only to have her tell me, ugly face with ugly clothes, just like a beggar. Mom laughed. We didn't invite beggars like you. Get out. So I left and I secretly cancelled all the payments and trips worth $86,000. Later, my phone started ringing non-stop and someone showed up at my house. Well, let's go. What happened that morning completely shattered my worldview. It was the day before my younger sister Coraline's wedding. The phone rang at 8 a.m. I was getting ready to head over to my parents' house to help with the last preparations as the maid of honor. Until I turned 32, I was always the responsible daughter, the one who solved all the family's problems. Whenever my family needed something, I was there to help. I always suppressed my own feelings for the sake of keeping peace. I thought that was just how things were supposed to be. But what I heard on the other end of the phone that morning was my mother Diana's cold voice. Elise, about tomorrow, she said. There was no emotion in her tone. Coraline decided. You won't be the maid of honor anymore. I felt my hand shake as I held the phone. What? What do you mean? Her friend Tara will be maid of honor instead. You'll just attend as a regular guest. A regular guest. At my own sister's wedding, I was just a regular guest. I was utterly at a loss for words, thinking of all the time, effort, and money I had poured into this wedding. But I've been helping with everything all this time. My voice trembled. I know, but this is Coraline's decision. She wants her best friend to do it. After hanging up, I rushed to my parents' house as quickly as I could, desperate to find out what was really going on. But what awaited me there was the cruelest blow of my life. Elise, you're here. Have a seat, my mother Diana said coldly. My parents, Coraline, and the groom Trent were all sitting in the living room. At first, everyone looked happy, but as soon as they noticed me, the atmosphere changed instantly. Elise, this is good timing, Coraline began. We've all talked about your attitude lately. You keep saying negative things about Trent and can't just be happy for us. I was stunned. I was just worried, that's all. Isn't it a little soon to get married after only 3 months? And sometimes I was concerned about how Trent acts around you. There she goes again, Trent interrupted. You're always trying to get between us. You just can't stand to see Coraline happy, can you? That's not true, I tried desperately to explain. I just worry when I see Trent commenting on what Coraline eats or limiting who she can spend time with. I thought maybe you two needed more time to get to know each other. But in the end, I support your decision to get married. That's why I wanted to be your maid of honor. Coraline gave a cold smile. Trent really cares about me. Maybe you can't understand it, but this is what love looks like. I'm just worried about you, that's all. Isn't it natural for an older sister to care about her sister's future? I just thought you didn't need to rush into marriage. Trent stood up. We're soulmates. This isn't like you dragging out a relationship for years before deciding to get married. My father Gerald spoke in a heavy tone. Elise, you've always been too critical. Are you trying to ruin your sister's happiest day? Don't you see how much your worry is hurting Coraline? My heart froze. Critical? When had I ever been critical? All I ever did was worry about Coraline getting married so quickly. I just wanted her to be sure about Trent before committing. I wasn't criticizing anyone. I tried to explain desperately. My mother let out a deep sigh. Elise, I can't have your negative energy ruining this sacred day. Negative energy. Everything I'd ever done for my family was being dismissed as negative energy. That's why I've decided, Coraline continued. I don't want you at the wedding. This is what we all agreed on. My world crumbled. You're saying I can't come to the wedding? That's right, my mother said firmly. You're just a beggar. Get out of my house. We don't need you, beggar. My own mother called me a beggar. After all the sacrifices I'd made for this family, after everything I'd done to support them, that word cut through me like a knife. This is too much. Do you have any idea what I've done for this family? I stood up, trembling, feeling tears streaming down my face. "Don't be so dramatic," my mother said. "Grow up." "Fine. But I'll never forget what happened today. And I'll never forget everything I've done for you." I left the house. When I got home, I found myself reflecting on my life. I had always been the good daughter, the responsible sister. I had always lived up to my family's expectations, solved their problems, and put my own feelings last. But this was the result of all those years. That night, my Aunt Harriet called me. "Elise, you won't believe what just happened." Harriet's voice was trembling with anger. "I overheard Diana talking to some neighbors just now." I gripped the phone tightly. "What was she saying?" "She was talking about the wedding expenses you covered." I heard Diana laughing and saying, "It's great we could have such a beautiful wedding thanks to Elise's money. Not that I ever planned on paying her back." I felt the blood draining from my face. No intention of paying me back. So they'd meant to trick me from the very beginning. "And that's not all," Harriet continued. She said, "That girl will always pay for the family, so we might as well use her. She married someone wealthy, but she's basically a beggar anyway. Tomorrow's wedding, that's going to be fancy too, thanks to her money." The neighbors just laughed along. After hanging up, I couldn't stop shaking. A mixture of anger and betrayal left my mind blank. When my husband Callum came home from work and saw my state, he was shocked. "What happened?" I explained everything to him through tears. His face turned bright red with anger. "I can't believe this. Not only did they throw you out of the wedding, but now they're trying to steal your money. And talking about you like that." The total amount we had advanced was $42,000. We'd paid for the venue, catering, flowers, photos, and dresses. All out of our savings. "What should I do, Callum? I'm completely lost. What do I do about tomorrow's wedding?" Callum took my hand. "I support whatever you decide. What do you want to do?" Something changed in me at that moment. I was tired of being used by my family. Realizing they intended to deceive me until the very end, I felt a sharp, clear anger. "I'm canceling everything," I said, my voice steady. "I'm canceling it all right now. But tomorrow's the wedding." "That's exactly why," I said, standing up. "When nothing arrives tomorrow morning, maybe then they'll finally understand my worth." It was already 9 p.m. Most of the vendors were closed, but I started calling every emergency number I could find. First, I called the catering company. "I'm sorry for calling so late. This is Elise Rennick, and I'm calling about tomorrow's wedding for Coraline Rennick. I'm the one who paid for everything, and I need to cancel the catering immediately." "What?" "We were scheduled to deliver first thing in the morning. I am the contracting party and I want to cancel everything." "Understood. There will be a cancellation fee." "That's fine. Please make sure nothing is delivered tomorrow." Next, I contacted the venue's emergency line, the florist, the dress shop, and the photographer. Then I moved on to the most dramatic blow, canceling the honeymoon. Coraline and Trent had booked a 2-week luxury trip to Maui worth $24,000, all charged to my credit card. Ironically, the trip was booked through the travel agency Callum runs. He hesitated at first, but seeing my resolve, he supported me. "Legally, you're in the clear. The trip hasn't started, so you'll get a refund after cancellation fees." When all the calls were done, it was past midnight. A sense of accomplishment washed over me. I would never be anyone's convenient wallet again. That resolve had solidified within me. Callum put his arm around my shoulders. "You did the right thing. Tomorrow they'll have to face the consequences of their actions." On the morning of the wedding, my phone started ringing around 7 a.m. The first call was from Coraline. "Elise, what's going on? The caterers say they're not coming." I answered calmly. "I cancelled it. Everything was under my name." "What? How could you do something so awful? Why should I keep paying for people who threw me out?" "But it's my wedding day." "That's no longer my concern. When you decided to cut me out, I stopped being part of your family." Next, my mother called. "Elise, what are you doing? You said it yourself yesterday, Mom. I'm a beggar and you don't need me, so you certainly don't need my money. But today is Coraline's big day. Then use your own money. I'm done. My phone kept ringing after that, but I ignored every call. In the evening, I heard that the wedding took place 3 hours late in a much humbler style than planned. The food was delivery pizza. The flowers were cheap bouquets from the local convenience store, and the photos were taken with relatives' phones. I heard that Coraline ended up getting married in an ordinary dress. That day, I spent a quiet afternoon with Callum. I felt a little guilty, but even more than that, I felt liberated. For the first time, I had actually protected myself. What I did wasn't revenge. It was simply exercising my right to defend myself. The next morning, my phone rang again. It was Coraline. Elise, we were turned away at the airport. Did you do something again? I answered calmly. I cancelled your trip. What? Why would you do something so awful? I covered all the costs for your wedding and honeymoon. Neither you nor Mom ever planned on paying me back. At least that's what Mom was saying. I could hear Coraline sobbing and talking to Trent in the background. Elise, please. Sorry. What happened yesterday went too far. But the honeymoon at least. Sorry. Now, after everything, my voice was icy. You kicked me out of the family. Now you have to live with that decision. Without waiting for a response, I hung up. Meanwhile, Callum was caught in the middle since the honeymoon had been arranged through his travel agency. Canceling the trip required all sorts of arrangements and calls. It was a lot of work, Callum said wearily. Contacting the airline and hotels, calculating cancellation fees, processing refunds. But I still think you did the right thing. Thank you. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. Don't be. Your family is the one at fault. That evening there was an unexpected knock at our door. Coraline and Trent stood at the entrance holding a huge bouquet. Elise, can we talk? Trent asked politely. Nothing like his usual arrogant self. Reluctantly, I let them in. They sat in our living room, looking nothing like the people I'd seen yesterday. Coraline especially had lost all her usual glow and just looked exhausted. Trent then lowered his head. First of all, I want to sincerely apologize. We were completely wrong about the wedding. Coraline, eyes brimming with tears, added, Elise, I'm truly sorry. I said terrible things and I hurt you. I folded my arms and stared at them. So, what do you want from me now? Trent spoke, clearly struggling. You were right to be concerned about our relationship. Actually, I lied about my job. He frowned. What do you mean? Coraline answered for him. Trent's construction company. Things weren't going well. He has a lot of debt. I had no idea. After the honeymoon was cancelled, we started talking about a lot of things, Trent continued. And that's when we realized just how fragile our relationship really was. You were worried for a reason, Coraline said through tears. We rushed into things. We hardly knew each other. We got carried away, and when you pointed it out, I just lashed out at you. My feelings were complicated. It was true that I'd been worried about their relationship, but it was also true that they'd excluded me from the wedding because of that. So I said coolly, What do you want from me? I heard your apology, but don't think that's enough. Trent spoke earnestly. We'll pay back the money. Even if it takes time, we will. Coraline choked up. Elise, we were completely wrong about the money, about the wedding, everything. How can we make it right? I took a deep breath and spoke slowly. I accept your apology, but rebuilding trust will take time. For now, I'd like you both to leave. And so they left our house. But my heart was still tangled with mixed emotions. They had apologized, but regaining my trust would take much longer. The day after Coraline and Trent came to apologize, my mother Diana showed up at my door, still just as overbearing as ever. Elise, this has gone on long enough, she said abruptly. We're family. We're supposed to forgive each other. Coraline has already learned her lesson. I stood up. Forgive each other. You called me a beggar, and that's supposed to be mutual. That was going too far. But you ruined their honeymoon. That was over the line too. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Who tried to steal my money in the first place? Just then, Callum came home from work. The moment he saw what was happening in the living room, his expression changed. "Diana," he said in a low voice, "I heard you called my wife a beggar." My mother shrank back immediately. Callum is usually gentle, so she must have been frightened by this side of him. "Callum, it was a misunderstanding. I was just emotional." Callum gave a cold laugh. "A beggar? You think Elise depends on me financially?" "Well, it's just that, Elise," my mother trailed off. "You clearly have no idea what my wife is capable of," Callum said firmly. "Elise is an executive at an event planning company. She earns $195,000 a year. My annual income is $310,000. So our household income is $505,000. My mother was at a complete loss for words. "What? Elise earns that much?" "That's right," Callum continued. "My wife is successful on her own. The person you called a beggar is someone who can pay $42,000 for Coraline's wedding out of her own income without a second thought." "But I didn't know." "No, you never even tried to know. Have you ever once shown any interest in your daughter's work or her accomplishments? You've always only cared about Coraline, never once acknowledging Elise's success." My mother's face turned pale. "You called my wife a beggar because you assumed she was incapable. You thought she was just a pathetic woman who relied on me. That's not, I didn't mean it that way. Intentions don't matter. You belittled your daughter based on your own prejudices. In reality, Elise is extremely successful both financially and socially." Callum stood beside me and put his hand on my shoulder. "Do you even realize how much she's done for your family? All the sacrifices she's made, not just money but her time, her feelings, everything she's poured into helping you," he continued. "And every penny she ever spent on your behalf, she earned herself. It wasn't my money." "Elise, I had no idea you were so successful," my mother said, her voice trembling. "You were never interested in my success," I finally said. "It was always about Coraline. No matter how hard I worked, you never acknowledged me. And in the end, you called me a beggar. I underestimated you. I had no idea how incredible you really are." My mother began to cry. Callum spoke calmly. "You had an amazing daughter, but you refused to see it, and now you've insulted and lost her. I hope you understand just how serious that is." My mother was completely deflated. For the first time, she realized how deeply her ignorance and prejudice had hurt her daughter. That day she left our house. But I could sense something fundamental had changed in her. She finally understood the seriousness of her misunderstanding and prejudice toward her own daughter. About a month after the honeymoon drama, I took some time to reflect on my relationship with my family. I'd accepted their apologies, but I was sure that things couldn't go back to the way they were. Unless we resolved the underlying issues, the same problems would keep repeating themselves. One Sunday afternoon, I decided to gather my entire family together. I booked a private room at a nearby family restaurant to keep things neutral. The attendees were my parents, Coraline, Trent, Callum, and myself, 6 in total. "Thank you all for coming today," I began formally. "What I'm about to say is crucial for how we move forward as a family." Everyone watched me anxiously. "The first thing I want to say is that I can't go back to the way things were," I said clearly. "For years, I was treated as the family's fixer. Whenever there was a problem, I solved it. If you needed money, I paid. If you needed emotional support, I gave it. But my own feelings and opinions were always brushed aside." I paused before continuing. "But I do love this family. That's exactly why I want to rebuild our relationships under new rules." "New rules?" Coraline asked nervously. I took out the notes I'd prepared. "Yes, these are my minimum conditions. If you can't accept them, then I'll have to completely cut ties with the family." Callum squeezed my hand in support. "First, regarding financial support. From now on, I will not provide any financial assistance to the family. The $42,000 I have already paid will be returned as promised. Second, my feelings and opinions must be respected on the same level as everyone else's. Then I changed my tone. Finally, I propose family therapy. I want us to work with a professional therapist to rebuild our relationships in a healthy way. Therapy? My mother said in surprise. Yes. With the help of a family therapist, we can talk about our problems and relearn how to communicate. There was a long silence. Everyone seemed to be absorbing my words. After we got home, Callum turned to me and said, "You did something really brave today. I'm proud of you." "Thank you. But the real test starts now, whether everyone will actually keep their promises." "Don't worry. If anyone can make this work, it's you." Over the next 3 months of therapy, our family started to change little by little. My mother let go of her unreasonable expectations of me, and Coraline began to take responsibility for her own problems. As promised, Coraline and Trent started repaying me $1,200 each month. My mother also offered to pay back $600 a month from her part-time job income. "This isn't just about paying you back," she told me. "I want to give something back to you for all the times I relied on you." I was surprised. We created new family rules, monthly family meetings, guidelines for expressing emotions, and steps for solving problems together. They were our blueprint for building healthier relationships. 5 years have passed since we started therapy. This year, for the first time in 5 years, Callum and I decided to host Thanksgiving and invited everyone to our home. Over these 5 years, our family relationships had transformed dramatically. On the 4th Thursday in November, I was busy from early in the morning preparing for Thanksgiving. Callum was roasting the turkey while I took care of the side dishes. This year was special because it felt like a celebration of everything we had built as a new kind of family. Around 2 p.m., Coraline arrived first, but she was a completely different person from who she'd been 5 years ago. She had started studying psychology at a local university and had divorced Trent 2 years ago. "Hey, Elise. Can I help with anything?" Coraline asked brightly. "Thank you. Could you make the salad?" We worked together in the kitchen, chatting easily. No tension like before. "Oh, by the way," Coraline said, "I sent you the final payment last month. I finally paid off everything I owed you." Just as she'd promised, she repaid every dollar of the debt over 5 years, increasing her monthly payments to $1,800 for the last 2 years. "You did such a great job," I told her sincerely. Divorcing Trent was definitely the right choice too. "Thank you. Therapy taught me I don't have to stay in a relationship that doesn't fit. I'm much happier now." My father, after retiring, started volunteering in the community, and my mother had begun to cherish her own time. "Elise, what a beautiful home you have," my mother said admiringly. "We had bought this new house 2 years ago, partly using the money my family had repaid." "Thank you, Mom. You look well." "It's thanks to therapy. I finally had a chance to reflect on my life," she replied. She really had changed. No more controlling attitude. She respected my opinions and could admit when she was wrong. "Elise," my father said, coming over to me, "I'm truly grateful to you. Thank you for not giving up on us and leading us this far. Dad, we all worked hard for this. It's not just me. No, we couldn't have changed without you. Your courage saved our family." At 6 p.m., Callum's parents joined us, and all 7 of us sat down to Thanksgiving dinner. The table was full of homemade dishes, and the house echoed with laughter. That night, after everyone had gone home, Callum and I cleaned up in the kitchen. "Today was really wonderful," Callum said. "Yes. 5 years ago, I never would have believed this was possible. The day you set your boundaries, that's when everything started to change. I've grown so much myself. I used to sacrifice myself for family harmony, but now I value my own feelings and can say no when I need to. And I decided to live my life putting my own emotions and dignity first." It took 5 long years, but we finally built a new kind of relationship, one where everyone can truly be themselves.